Then officially welcome to Islands and Trains, or Trains and Islands. I've completely forgotten what I was saying, what I was wanting to say. This is supposed to be a chill stream. I guess we had all of our action now the first 25 minutes. Mike is okay, you're not clipping. Thank you. Perfect. It will be interesting if I watch that back. Those 24 minutes. Yeah, I know there is a significant delay, but I can't change it during stream apparently. It's all grayed out. And it might be for the best because my internet connection isn't the best, so a bit of a delay might be quite good. Alright, Islands and Trains is a little game where we build our own railway. I don't think there are any specific goals in mind, so we can just take our time and vibing while we are chatting, hopefully not about sound settings anymore. Okay, tutorial. Yes, I need that because I have not played that game. See these two red arrows? I do. They indicate the placement mode. Sure? Uh-huh. Makes sense. Okay. Press left control once more to toggle this. Ah, I see. I see. Pressing tab. Okay. I think most of that should be straightforward, right? Great so far. Good. Uh-huh. Build Sodo. That might be a bit of a big project. If you want to take a closer look, okay, that should be all intuitive, hopefully. Okay, that's what we built in the tutorial mode. Lovely, isn't it? How can I rearrange my screen that the chat's a bit closer to me? Oh, that should be fine. Now, I already have two screens, otherwise that wouldn't work. Wouldn't work at all. Okay, is there more for the tutorial? You can select other objects. Sure. I will erase everything. Okay, yeah, please. You can rotate with R or with the middle mouse button. Sure. Okay, vertical levels. Okay. Can we attach it to the side? It also works with other elements. Build a bridge on the ocean at its heights level. Where is the ocean? There's no ocean here. But I think it's probably talking about that. Maybe not. I won't accept anything less than Germany in 1-to-1 scale. Yeah, not sure about that. At least not in one stream. That's what the tutorial wants us to do, right? Right? It's not happy. Why is the tutorial not happy with me? A silt shuttle, yeah, that sounds like something that game is suitable for. Okay, what does the tutorial want from me? Build a bridge on the ocean to its highest level. That's the ocean, that's the highest level. Surely there isn't anything more to do. Maybe skip the tutorial and then we'll be in trouble. That's how it always goes, right? Alright, what does this one do? Is this control for our trains? Probably. Good. Yeah, I know. The tutorial is mean to me. Doesn't say what I'm doing wrong. And now I've skipped half the tutorial. We'll see how that goes. But let's start with a little bit of an island, right? That's the usual stuff. What do we have? Is that just sand? Looks like sand. But now there's no music, I'm just realizing. I would have needed the red bridge. Don't see a red bridge. There's one with a red roof. Build a steel bridge. Is there even a steel bridge? Yeah, there are steel bridges. Okay. Does control Z work? That does work. Wonderful. The music for some reason is now completely gone. Don't know why that is. Maybe there is just no music right now. Maybe that's what it is. Okay, let's start with some land. I like that they have the flag there. I remember from my younger days, was it literally mini golf simulator? You could move endlessly, way beyond the playing ground, and eventually I did not find my way back because for some reason going off into Nirvana was more interesting than playing the game. The music's there? Oh, the music is there. Yeah, right. Okay, I just have dialed it down because otherwise I hear my own voice kinda twice, which isn't too pleasant. One time is enough. But I want to hear the music. How? Yeah, I won't be able to fix it. I'm not touching the audio again. We have done that enough today. Okay, we had Germany as a suggestion, or sorta. Borderless, just like Germany in 1339. Yeah, it was borderless. I guess that's what happens if you have a PC as a kid and some weird old games and too much time on your hand, that you wander off into the abyss. At DB52, what even do we have in terms of trains? Oh, okay, there's quite a selection of different steam locomotives. Just 2 diesels. I'm missing an electric locomotive, to be honest here. Just a small, simple 2-axle electric locomotive would be enough, but to have none is a little bit sad, and maybe a tram would be nice. Just don't make it in Poland. I mean, I have to expand to somewhere. Okay, let's maybe start small. I mean, not just some track, just get a train going. As I have now skipped the tutorial, I have no clue what I'm doing, so I should go easy on myself. Okay, that's an interesting piece. Can I mirror that? Ah, that's a button. Köln Hauptbahnhof. Also a big project. How does... I have to be honest, it is a long time I've been there. Probably 10 or 15 years. I've been to Köln. Okay, that's lovely that it places the ground underneath. Okay, that's a bigger radius, that's lovely. You always want to have big, wide, generous curves. Can we? No, we can't do that. Oh yes, we can erase track. That does work. Yes, exactly. I have to start small, otherwise this will just end in madness. I mean, it will do that either way. There's no way around that. But maybe let's keep the madness at bay. At least a little bit. Okay, there's not enough space. But that does work. Good. Has any one of you actually played that game before, or is it new to all of us? I think it's about a year old, so it's not that new, but also not that old. Okay, we have a loop. So all we need to do is add a locomotive. Which one do we take? And that's that. Yep, I think we know how it works. Okay, wonderful. Now then we can start to get serious. Oh, we even have a castle. Maybe let's start with a castle in the center and build around it. I think that would be a good idea. I'm also thinking about doing a castle for my own models someday. It would be a beautiful thing, I think, to do, but it's the same there. I have to start small, otherwise... Oh. We can follow the train, but there's no train perspective. Okay, I see. Okay, interesting. Okay, we just click. Is it a maximum? Okay, there is a maximum capacity. Makes sense. Can we add another locomotive to the same train? A double header? I don't think we can. I don't think we can do a double header, which is a... What? No? Why did it remove that engine? That's not good. How do you remove locomotives again? Okay. I'm a bit confused. It does look like a kid's model railway at the... Ooh! That can happen too, apparently. Railway set at the moment. But with more landscape. Okay. Apparently we can't back up and couple to those wagons. We can add new ones, apparently. Maybe. Oh no. Oh no. How do we remove that train now? There's no coupling ability. Okay, then it's not just me. We can switch between the trains, but I'm not quite sure. How you remove them again? Maybe by doing that? Have you broken the game because there's no locomotive for that train? Is that what's happening? yeah, I can't really do anything about it now. I just have some coaches here. Yeah, I broke it already. Oh dear. Maybe I should have tasted it before the stream, but I wanted to go in blind because it's more fun that way, isn't it? I can't add a locomotive and I can't... Okay, maybe let's just start over again. Select your theme. Oh, that's a thing. Let's go with the mountains. That seems fun. Okay, now let's start with the terrain. And we don't break anything anymore. We just do normal stuff now. How did the... What was the other mode where you can do that? Yeah, I should have paid more attention to the tutorial. You know, we can select and destroy, but there must be a way to select and fill in. It did say it in the tutorial, but I didn't pay attention. Settings. There must be controls, keyboard. Toggle placement modes, left control. Maybe just left control. Yep, that's it. Okay, I will figure it out eventually. Okay, right mouse button is to pan. Every software has a different way of doing that, and it is driving me crazy. And can we not scroll further out? Okay, let's have a little mountain here. You know, it's sad without the music, but at least you can hear it. Or if I just be happy with hearing myself. It sounds so echoey for some reason. Does it sound echoey to you too, or is it just on my end? Because in a way it should sound exactly like my videos do. Just on my end. Okay, that is good to know. Is it big enough for a castle? I think the answer is no. It's not big enough for a castle. Maybe just keep the castle smaller. Then maybe that solves our issues. Or have it a ruined castle, then it doesn't need to be that big after all. Is that a corner piece? Maybe the tower. Oh, there is a corner piece. Lovely. Hey, why do you not? Is there just not enough space? Maybe that's the issue. Oh. Don't create holes. We play Stronghold now, yes. Will you make an E2 model? Which railway are you referring to? There are many E2s. Where is the corner piece? Here we go. Okay, that's our castle. I think that's enough for now. Let's add a little bit of a railway line. And why is it so... Why are there so many holes in the terrain? What have I done? That's horrible. Okay, let's fill in those holes. We need more of a mountain anyway, so that's fine. Yeah, I want to pan with the middle mouse button. Oh, the left mouse button, actually. Oh, the Brighton one. Maybe one day. Maybe one day, but it's not currently on my to-do list. You know, an A1 is just, I think, a bit more appealing. Okay, let's see what station buildings we have. Ooh! Ooh, I love that. Okay, that's a good station. Yep. Then a good shed, it's actually a bit large compared to the station. Yeah, that is a bit ginormous. You know, the good sheds around where I live, some are still standing, they're not used anymore, but they're all way smaller than this one. Okay, then no good shed. Fine. I think that's too far away. Yeah, it will take me some time to get used to use the right mouse button to rotate, because that's just awkward. That shouldn't be that way. Okay, what kind of spacing is that? Please mind your gap, I suppose. This is way too far. Way too large of a distance. Ooh, that is cute. Or is that not supposed to be? Is it not what I think it is? Nope, that's not really changing it. Well, I guess it's a little bit closer. And now it has two different colors. That game is driving me crazy. A blue A1, I mean, there were two blue A1s. So that's a thing. But in a bit of a darker shade. Okay, how's it called? Station. Can we change that name? Probably not. No, there isn't anything we could click at. That's sad. Okay, but that looks cute. I like that. Maybe a level crossing somewhere. Your favorite is a Class 50 Rico. Yeah, that's a good choice. What's my favorite? What did I say in my last video would be my favorite? I guess I'm currently on the Prussian T18? I think that is my favorite, but it changes. Right click for rotating is driving me nuts. Can we change that? Can we change that before... Controller? Okay. Rotate object. Am I blind? The pre-war electrics, yes, they are kinda very nice. I love old electrics, generally. They're very quirky, very diverse. and very boxy. Left control. There is nothing really for the mouse, is there? At least there's a way to go back to the tutorial. Okay, I just have to get used to use the right mouse button. I guess I will learn it one day. There are just 90-degree crossings, no 45-degree crossings. That is sad. I want to have a 45-degree crossing or 22.5. Not just 90-degree crossings. Jeez. Is there stuff in the way? I see. I guess I'm a bit too demanding for this type of game to ask for 45-degree crossings. Ooh, that is cute. Can we place it? Yes, beautiful. Even OpenTD can do 45, yeah. It's a shame, but for this type of game, it's okay. And you know, the game is only a year old. Who knows what's still coming? I certainly want to see some old electrics. That, I guess, is an oversight. You know, an electric tram and a small 2-axled middle cab locomotive. We've created a hole again. We have a water tower. Oh, a footbridge. Okay. What other buildings do we have? So you can maybe start a little bit planning and not just nilly-willy go in here, as I'm doing right now, but I guess that is expected. The drawing mode is a little bit, I don't know. Takes some time to get used to, but maybe it's just me. Come on. A rocky section for the turn. Oh, that one would also be lovely. That one's good. Can we override it? I don't think we can. Nope. Okay, apparently we have to remove the terrain for that to work. Fine, then it's over here. An unholy hybrid of an E94 and an EL16. I mean, why not? Make up a story why that design makes sense. Okay, we have holes again. We have unholy holes. Also, a line through here would be nice. Why is that gone again? These controls drive me crazy. I've accidentally deleted it apparently. Okay, but what I want to have a turnout here anyway. So let's put one in. And you can't go diagonally with the track either, can you? That's a shame. Okay, I guess we just have to add decorations manually. That's fine. Do we really have to go the Minecraft road of doing that? Is that what the game wants? Is there no way around that? Fine. What do we have in terms of decorations? Pebbles, palm trees, well, maybe the wrong theme for that. Fallen log. Guess these are the trees we want. Oh, and it varies automatically. That's nice. And I have to delete a track again. How does it always happen? I see the tree deleted it. Actually, that's what I wanted to do. Okay. Maybe let's delete that hill and also that nonsense. Then we should be able to place this in, because this section just looks lovely. We have to delete more. Fine. The good thing is that it doesn't cost any money. You know, the moment in where you started doing terraforming in Roller Coaster Tycoon, that's the moment you went bankrupt. And I still can't place it. Can place it here, finally. Okay, that does not work. It only places land if there's water underneath it. Makes sense. Maybe we could put a bridge here. A steel bridge doesn't really fit the theme, even though that would be my brand. But let's save that for later. Maybe more... something more stony castle-like. Yes, that's good. But I do love the aesthetics of the game. It does look very well finished up. Very polished. Is there another fun section we could put in here? Would that fill it? Yes, that does work, but that does not work because... when we have, by the way, we can also only delete it as a whole thing. I had hoped for that we maybe could just delete some track segments out of this, but apparently it's just one entity. So that's not good. But that works. I have, by the way, made a second channel where I will upload the VODs for those streams, as I don't want them on my main channel, as it might be confusing to new players. And you find the link for the new channel in the description. It's just called Steelbridge Gaming. I just created it today, so you can be the first subscriber. Let's put something fun in here. Okay, that already is a mess again. What am I doing here? Maybe I should think more about what I'm doing before I'm doing things. But if we have something here, some big obstacle, then that would actually make sense. Maybe another castle. Or another mountain. Something very imposing. Yes, that might be a good idea. Oh, you already subscribed. Thank you so much for that. Apparently, the chance for the first subscriber is already gone. I'm also just curious to see how that will go. You know, just a random Let's Play channel. Not really, it's just WOTS, but still. It's always fun to play with the algorithm. And I also will do that on the main channel, by the way. There are some one-off videos I've planned for this year, which are a bit more, how should I say, a bit more rambly, but talk about things that I will do for the future on my channel, what I want to change, and stuff like that. And I'm always curious to see how those videos perform. Because you sometimes are just surprised what YouTube does. Okay, is that imposing? Yeah, that's imposing. Maybe rotate it. That's a bit too close for comfort. Are there... Ah, I see, I see. Too close again. There are different ones. I want the big one. Yes, that one's good. Daily uploads. But only for a month and then burn out. Don't worry, I'm not chasing numbers, but there are personally some things I'm not really happy how the channel currently looks like. Because currently what I'm really doing, what I have been doing for the longest time is chasing videos. You know, trying to get at least one every 2 weeks out. Which is tiring. And so I'm looking into different ways how I can make fun content, which also doesn't detract too much time from model making, because at the end of the day, I don't create models for my channel, this channel is for my models. But of course making videos about them gets a little bit in the way of creating new models, so I have to be careful about that. But the other way, if I don't make videos, no one will see those models, so it's a question of balance. It won't create a turnout. That's sad. But I kind of expected that. There is this wooden railway game where there are no predefined turnouts, but it creates automatically some. When Steel Bridge game? Yeah, I thought about naming the other channel Steel Bridge Games, but it came to me that this would be a bit confusing as those games are not mine. But I don't think I will even start with creating games myself. You know, I do watch coding videos every once in a while, and that's a fun thing, but I already have too many hobbies as it is, so I don't want to add another one. Okay, we have a basic circle. Let's just put a train down, but only one this time. Which one fits this theme most? I guess this one. Some green coaches for that. Is that a... that looks a bit like a Fakultativwagen. So a multi-purpose van that can be used as a van as also as a coach. Yeah, maybe use one of those. 3 regular coaches. And let that one drive off. Okay. That all looks very square, I'm just realizing. Which is not good. I guess that's the point in time where you just spend unholy amounts of hours pressing the wrong key apparently to make it pretty. But also a reason videos have been slow at the moment. Some of you maybe already have read it in between the lines of a post, and my channel members know anyway that I now have a 3D printer and am testing different settings and all that stuff. So the first models to print are right around the corner, almost. However, I do take my time with the first steps, as the more careful I am now, the quicker it will be later on to create more models. So the first locomotive will take me still a bit of time. And time is a thing about 3D printing also. As I want... That was the wrong key again. As I want obviously want to have the best possible quality with a traditional filament printer, I have to print very slowly in small layer lines. Which really is a test for your patience, but it does pay off. Because the quality is pretty close to resin printing. And less toxic. So I guess I will have to buy a second printer eventually. To speed up the process a bit. Because imagine wanting to print a fleet of, I don't know, 24 coal wagons. And each one takes 2 days to print. Yeah. Not fun, but it's just what needs to happen. That's a road. Great. And somebody requested a car. Where do I even find those? Ooh, here. Oh, a coal mine. Cute! There is actually narrow gauge in that game. I love that. But I can't place it directly. I can place it here. I haven't seen that there's a dedicated tab for goods wagons, but that makes sense, I suppose. Are there no cars in that game? I guess the creators loved railways so much that they did not add any cars. Can't blame them. Sorry, but I just can't find any cars here. Cart wagons? Cart wagons, yes, but where would they be? Oh, there we are. Yeah, that makes sense. Can even add a little market. Maybe we should add a little town into that direction. So we need more land. Oh, that's already on deleting again. Ah, control is a button I'm looking for. I see what I'm doing wrong. Oh, come on. Okay, good. But as soon as you go back, you have to press it again. That is annoying. Okay, I see. I see. But you also can't hold it. You have to press it once. I will learn the keys eventually. Don't worry. Okay, what do we have for town buildings? Maybe the farm could go here? Is it a farm or is it just a farmhouse? Let's plonk it there. There are many big builds, which are too big for just starting out. You know, that is a massive thing. But there are different colors. Ooh. I love the red one, even though it sticks a bit out. I think that's what I'm looking for. Looks a bit... That's an odd building. You know, from the styling it fits right in, but at the same way it looks way too modern. Ooh. We all need a fire department, don't we? Maybe let's put that here. That one in red makes sense. Ooh, a lighthouse. I love that. Let's put one over here. Getting distracted, I know. That's just the way it is. I do love the little stuff they have. No, a welcome sign. Best place in the world. Okay, just randomize it. It makes sense. So, do we want to add a second train? I guess we do. Maybe let's have a little branch line going out from there. But what happens if we just remove one piece of track and don't stop the train? Will we break the game again? It just stops. It's a bit anticlimactic. I have expected worse. Okay, well, that might be an issue. But you can reverse, and then how do you... We are figuring things out, even without the tutorial. Okay, I see. That one is specifically made to link up with terrain. That makes sense. Do we need to add it anywhere? I think we're good. There's a hole. Why is there a hole? Okay, tell me what we need to add to this world. We need a small station up here, that is for sure. Ooh, that one looks nice. It's not small though. But I do like it. So I'm just going to add it. Just decided. Okay, we can do that. Now that doesn't make sense. Small harbor or fishing port. Yes, definitely. That could also go with the town quite nicely. Can we? No, that does not work, unfortunately. We need smaller segments of that. But maybe just reposition the station then. It's probably the easier way. Oh dear. The work PC gave in. Don't worry about it. You know, whenever you reply, I will see it. But I was wondering why I didn't get any message back from you. But do you still have access to the mail I sent you then, or is that also in the Nirvana? Okay, we need to move the station, that is for sure. That one in yellow? I'm not sure about yellow train stations. Let's keep that naturally colored. That one would be nice at the end. I know ideally you should place the terrain before the buildings, not the other way around, but... Ooh, I love that! Don't get distracted, Tony, don't get distracted. I wanted to build an overpass. Small footbridge. Okay, awesome. So at least the mails are not lost. Which reminds me I have to do soon a backup again of my Blender files. Because I surely don't want to lose those. And you know, I already had 2 hardware crashes in my life. That was fortunately way before I did Blender, so... everything's fine, but I learned that backups are very important. Because otherwise you will just lose your sanity. Okay, what is my game plan here? I guess we will maybe turn that around and connect it up over there somewhere. I guess that makes sense. What is the 3-2-1 rule? Never heard about that. Okay, that officially marks the end of this coastline. Then we can think about a small harbor. Somewhere here. Maybe let's start with another lighthouse. Because I already was so excited about them beforehand. Is that the end of the map? Can we not go further? No, that is the end of the map. That's sad. 3 copies of the data in 2 different storage formats and 1 stored offsite. Yep, that is certainly true. Because, you know, what's the use of having a backup if your, I don't know, house burns down? Then you might have lost all your copies. I mean, the good thing, as soon as I start uploading my files on Patreon, they will be out there in the wild anyway. Don't have to be worried about losing them. Of course, they're different from my work files for various reasons, but still. Okay, lighthouse. Maybe a small one. Yes. That one makes sense. Yeah, storing stuff is expensive. But the good thing about blend files is that they don't take up much space. So it's not that bad actually. Especially if every once in a while you clean up your files. And you know, I have the habit of when I go back to a model that I don't just change it, but rather keep backups of individual parts within the file in an archive folder. So if I do nonsense, I can go back to the old version of that piece. But that stacks up over time, and some blend files are 4 times the size than they actually need to be, because my archive folder is just full of stuff. You just joined and the first thing you hear is a house burning down. Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully not. Okay, what do we have in portside builds? Is there anything specific? Let's just... Okay, that maybe is more for the rail line. Is there a fishing shack or something of that sort? Not really anything too specific. But there are wooden piers, so that is good. Yeah, online backups are a good idea, but I don't know, I have trust issues with that. Of course, they're all claiming to keep the files private and not do any shady business with them, but who knows? Alright, let's put some boats down. Oh, we have animals too. And we have them in all different colors. I love that. Ooh, talking about mini golf. Boats is also a thing I want to do one day in Blender. You know, I don't want to pivot my channel to doing maritime models, but just some boats, that just needs to happen eventually. But there are no color options for the sun umbrella. That is sad. Is it randomized? Nope. Just yellow. But we could put that parkour over here. That might make more sense. Maybe not. We should connect something to that bridge. Just realizing. But at least there are no people here. You know, nobody could walk off and fall off the cliff. It's a bit sad, actually. It would be lovely to have some NPCs walking around. And do nonsense, as all NPCs do. Are there some stairs we could place? Ah, here we go. Is there a way to rotate through different versions? That doesn't work, unfortunately. That would be lovely to connect it this way. Okay, I see. And what to do with that gap? Is there anything we can do here? Don't think there is. That doesn't work. Yeah, I think that's the best solution we have. What will be the first model? That will be, of course, Gemini, the trusty orange and copper field driver locomotive. Or at least it will be the first locomotive, as a locomotive without track doesn't make much sense. But I will release that locomotive with the wee tipper wagons and maybe also with some bolster wagons and track at the same time. So there is a small train set kind of situation going. In a way, I hope that working on this small locomotive first would make things a bit easier for me, you know, rather than starting with a standard gauge locomotive, but having to squeeze in many things into a small locomotive is a challenge in itself, which I completely underestimated. Because even in 1:50 scale, a field railway locomotive is tiny, especially if you're working with 3D printing. Because obviously the parts will never be as sturdy as injection molded parts would be, so you have to keep that in mind. That doesn't look good. Is it a corner segment? That's an island. I love that. But no corners. Ooh. That looks fine. Where to place that? Okay, that was bound to happen. Sure, why not? It's not an awkward ridge with trees on top of it, but fine with me. It doesn't look half bad, does it? I mean, that mountain bit is a bit awkward. Yes, quality is a big concern with 3D printing. But the printer I have, the PS2 from Bamboo, does a pretty good job. But, I mean, the biggest issue with 3D printing I have found is that the underside will always look crappy. It doesn't matter what you do. The four sides are fine, the top is okay, but the underside is always bad. And orientation is also very important. If you, for example, print a handrail standing up, then it just snaps without any force at all, as it has no really structural integrity. which with a hand roll itself isn't a problem because you can print it lying down, but if you have complex pieces, sometimes you just can't avoid that. Okay, should we just round it out? Maybe we'll do just that. But it is with 3D printing a trial and error thing. You know, one can't expect to just go in there and have successful prints. In a way, I'm already amazed how easy 3D printing is. You know, especially the Bamboo printers, you just unbox them, assemble them, if you even can call it assembling them, there isn't really much to it. And you can print with the files that already Bamboo gives you, just like that. Press the button, it does everything itself. But of course only with standard resolution, and obviously that is not really enough when you go for scale models. Yeah, I mean, you can go up with the temperature, but that one has other problems. But I can play around with that, so that might be a valuable hint. But yeah, with resin the problem is that I just don't have the space at the moment to safely use it. Oh, there's a different kind of a corner. Is you really don't want to have a resin printer in your living space. For that, a basement or something like that would be ideal. But that unfortunately is at the moment just not an option, so filament printing it is. And you can achieve pretty good quality with it. Plus, I don't really trust resin in terms of how it ages. I mean, painting is one thing you definitely have to do with resin, so it's at least protected from the sunlight. But still, the filaments for traditional 3D printing are a bit more... they age more preferably. Especially if you use ABS or ASA, which I'm currently also not using, as also these are not the healthiest materials, but still way less harmful than resin printing is. Maybe I should do some tests with my current prints made out of PLA. You know, let them soak into water, put them into direct sunlight for a couple of weeks and do all that nonsense to see how they fare. But you know, in a way, I don't want to redo my models in 10, 20 years. I want the models I print now to be there. Okay, I completely lost focus. What was I doing? Yes, I was building a little town. Yes, exactly. ASA is definitely better than using ABS. And also, I don't know if ASA is less toxic, but at least it doesn't smell as bad as ABS does. So that's another plus. A lamp for a locomotive in 1:5 scale. I mean, it's a lamp, so it's still pretty small, but I think that's a doable size. My lamps will be much smaller. Yes, some cheap models do crumble, that is true. Not all materials are the same way. Especially if production of the models is outsourced, that isn't often ideal for the material. Especially with metal, with zinc. I don't know what the English term for it. In German it's called Zinkfraß. When the mixture of the material is not the way it should be, then the material eventually starts expanding and the model just falls into pieces. And it's something, once it starts, I mean, you can't do anything about it. It will just happen eventually. You can slow it down by good storage, by dry storage and good temperature, but you can't do anything about it. That's also what I'm a bit... Zinkfraß. Zinc rot, zinc pest, yeah, that makes sense. Obviously my locomotives, even the unpowered ones, I want to fill in with metal. At least in the boiler, so they are, you know, stay better on the track. And ideally, I'm trying to get maybe a profile with the right diameter so I can just cut it down and put it into the boiler, but I want to make sure I have a clean metal that does not eventually start expanding and ripping my model apart. Ooh, a waterfall. Oh, that one is lovely. We certainly need that. But one thing about that game is that you can't scroll further out than that, which is a bit annoying, as I would like to see everything at once. Or is there another zoom key I have missed? Tutorial. No, not really. Oh, page down and page up. Yeah, but it also doesn't go any further. Yeah, I know an N and Z scale. It's tiny, but the thing is I want the lamps to be removable parts. So usually, at least with Continental models, you don't have that. The lamps, I mean, they are usually separately fitted, but once they're on there, they're on there. I want to make them removable, but that's certainly doable, but is a little bit fiddly. And I want to have a good compromise between having fine details but also having not too small parts that it gets annoying handling them. Because for me a model can look as stunning as it wants if it's just not fun taking it into your own hands, you know, and fiddling about with it. Because you're scared you will break parts, then I don't know, that's just not for me. Exactly, plug and play. Of course, with 3D printing, that's never really an option to have just plug and play, but I want to get as close as possible with that. Yes, you have it with British stuff, which makes sense because of head codes. But also then again, I have some British models, but I never have actually used those lamps, as you usually would have to glue them on, which I'm definitely not a fan of. You know, glue is just devil stuff. And especially for British models, you have to be able to just rearrange the lamps. I don't know, maybe there are some models where you can do that. But then again, already in 00 scale, those lamps are tiny. And making them removable and changeable does not make things easier. Okay, do we want to have a pond in between? Just realizing that this is just a waterfall and we should have something towards the back, maybe. Maybe. Yeah. It makes sense, because at the end of the day, you can use the wrong head code on your model layout, you know, it doesn't... The locomotive won't go on strike, but still it feels a bit of a shame to me that there's no easy way of just changing it around, but it is 00 scale. I think with O scale that should be easier to do, but I don't have any experience in O scale and what is available in accessories for that. But I mean, that is the main reason I've chosen 1:50 scale or a rather large scale, so I can do those funky things. And that also shouldn't be too difficult with 3D printing. Mechanical parts like valve gear, that is where you also have to really think about not making it too fine, because 3D printed parts are never as exact as injection molded parts would be. But obviously the lamp, once you put it there, doesn't need to move, so that's one thing. And I also had to make the decision that the valve gear on my field driver locomotives just won't be movable. For the video in December I animated it completely, all the parts of it. Already then I knew that this probably wouldn't be really feasible to do on the physical model, but I didn't want to simplify at that point, as I wanted to test out what is actually possible and what is not. But I've just made the decision. The valve gear is so tiny on these locomotives that it makes no sense trying to have it movable. You could make it work, if you work with metal pins maybe. But at the end of the day, I'm happy when the valve gear works on my larger locomotives. The thing is, and you might remember the rendered image I posted on Sunday, that kind of the coupling rod and connecting rod of those small field driver locomotives is as large as the valve gear on a standard gauge locomotive. Okay, track pieces. You know, I was kind of happy you chose this game, because I hoped this one would allow me to focus on chat as well as on the game at the same time. But even that isn't working, apparently. Maybe I have to stream something even more mindless, where I really don't have to pay any attention to what I'm doing. But I probably shouldn't stress myself out too much, should I? Yes, multitasking is hard. You know, many people watch streams while they do other work on their computer. You know, watching a live stream while working in Blender sounds like a good idea. I've tried it, it's just my brain can't do that. Because either I'm watching the live stream or I'm working in Blender. One or the other, it's not both. This S-curve with an incline really gives me a headache, Because if a locomotive derails here, it's really not the locomotive's fault. This is torturous. Even for narrow gauge it would be torturous. Helldivers 2 then. I'm actually not familiar with that game, but I guess the title already gives it away how relaxing it is. I mean, it sounds fun. What intersection would be usable here? Oh, that one maybe would be more useful here. Looks more like a roller coaster. Yes, it definitely does. But you know, train set radius. Guess it makes sense. Housings for N-scale locomotives. Yeah, that sounds torturous. Good luck with that. But at the end of the day, and that is something you always have to remind yourself when you're working on a project, it is not just how detailed a model is, how good it looks like. You know, detail is not everything. And especially if you're working on Blender or on a different software on your PC, it is so easy to just forget what scale you're working in. And then you're realizing, once you print it, that some of the details don't actually really show up, or are very muddy because they are way too small to render up properly. Wrong mode. You destroyed so many. You printed with resin. Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. I'm not surprised hearing that. That is always a trade-off you kind of have to do. Oh, that actually fits. Good. Oh, wrong. Now it's not an S-curve anymore. We have a straight in between. Perfect. Problem fixed. Okay. Then we can change that. No, that's... I mean, we changed the turnout anyway. Not the way I wanted it to change, but we did. Oh. The track peel itself does not change. But I guess... that's just a nerd complaining about little details. Most resin is brittle because the user used cheap resin. Yes. Yes. That is a thing. I mean, that is also with filament, with PLA, an issue. If you find cheap PLA online, then it usually has a lot of filler stuff in it, which you don't want to have in it. So far I've used the standard stuff from Bamboo, as, you know, came from the same manufacturer, same parcel, no extra shipping. But I have ordered a parcel of Pusament, because they manufacture their stuff themselves and take great pride in it. So maybe that also improves the quality of things. It is quite a bit more expensive though, but to be quite honest, when we take into account the time I've spent creating my models, then it doesn't matter if the kilogram costs $10 or $30. That's just not the deciding factor. Especially as, even a 1 to 50 scale, those models are not that heavy. So they're not using that much material. You first tried Bamboo's ASA and then tried Brusament and all your issues went away. I'm not surprised hearing that. The lake has no rivers, true, we have to fix that. And you still don't understand my track system. Yeah. Once I have printed these things, I will try again explaining it. But it is actually quite simple once you get your hand around it. But I still haven't really figured out a good way of explaining it. And I also have to figure out how I adapt it for standard gauge, as just upscaling the track system wouldn't work, as then still the turnouts would be way too steep, the radius would be way too harsh, and the track distance would be just too wide. But I guess as a little sneak peek, before I do a standard gauge track, I will probably work on tram track as a bit of an intermediate step. Because the thing about a track system is once you have committed to it, you don't really want to change anything about it. There's not enough space for that. I really spent years thinking about what geometry works best. And also stood a little bit in my own way, as originally I did not have planned to have a straight in between a turnout and its, you know, with model railway track you usually have your turnout and then a curve going straight back, so you have an S-curve. In real life you usually don't have that, and you also don't want that. You want to put a straight in between it, and as soon as you do it, you have so much more flexibility with your track system. Because of course you want to have standard straight segments with a clean number, you want to have a radius with a clean number, you want to have your radius curved track segments with a clean angle, and you want to have a clean track spacing. You know, you want to have even, wonderful numbers everywhere. But that just does not work. You have to let the math do its thing. So it was kind of a revelation when I found the system I'm currently using, which has almost clean numbers anywhere. Just the turnout angle is a little bit off of 22.5 degrees. Just slightly off. Where animals? Nowhere so far. We have to work on that. Okay, are there more decorations for the coastline? Oh, we can put the... Can we not put those into the water? That's a shame. Ooh, with a retaining wall, I love that. But I don't really have space for it, do I? Well, that happens when you go in there with no plan whatsoever. But somewhere here in the mountains would look nice. Where was it? It looks a bit out of place. Yeah, no, it does not fit in here. Doesn't matter how I'm trying to do it. That does fit. Ooh. I love that. Then if we move this and... yeah, that looks natural. I mean, sans those corners. Is there anything else we could put there? Not really. You see a pattern forming, yeah. For a second train, we kinda need a double line. I mean, we can put down a second train, but... also that train went back to this line. I mean, we can just try to have 2 trains running and see how long that works out until they crash into each other. Which one do we choose? The diesel locomotives are just way too modern. They just don't fit. Here we go. And then let's have that a goods train. And oh dear, oh dear, oh... okay, now we have no trains. Okay, let's try that with the trains over again. It's a bit finicky with letting you place them down. Okay, that was a passenger train. Good. Let's just give that one a go. Good. And then let's add in another train. Make it a goods train. And if they now run both on the same track, it should be fine. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? No, that one doesn't fit. Why can't I... okay, I've deleted the wagons, but it doesn't... what have I done again? Have I broken it again? We need signals. Do the signals actually work? I don't think we can do anything with them. How do we... can we just remove the locomotive? Oh dear. Oh dear. It's... I can't even... there will be another crash soon. Where even is that other train? Disappeared. No! Why does it keep happening? Okay, okay, okay. That's not good. Yeah, but there is still a locomotive and there is still a locomotive. I can't place them on the track. I can't place any code. Okay, what do we do now? Maybe let's save. Let's save it. Has it saved it? We go back to the first one. and then reload it. Now nothing happens. You wonder what I think about your model. Well, it's very great attention to detail. I can imagine you spent a lot of time working on it, so it's quite stunning. Yeah, I see nothing either, it's just... apparently... the game now broke. Yeah, coming back to your model, I can imagine how long it must have took you to build that up, because it's really those small little gritty details which take just ungodly amounts of time. But at the same time, considering I'm working on a smaller scale, sometimes it's also okay to simplify things. It's just a question what you're after. If it's museum piece quality or just something that's just fun, you know? Okay, maybe I just have to restart the game. Okay, we are back. Good. You spent 2 years, yeah, I can imagine. But I guess 2 years already knowing how to use the software, right? Because it took me multiple years to get to the current level where I am in model making, as... well, obviously if you're just starting out in Blender, you need to learn the software, you need to learn how to approach certain problems. Things that took me forever a couple of years ago now go very quickly, because now I know what I'm doing. Really back to, you have to crawl so you can run later on. Okay, let's add a new train. Once again, the same setup. And then we'll add another train. And also let that one drive. And they're both on at max speed, so it should work out alright. Hopefully. A second loop would of course be smart. Are there some logic pieces to have a train change direction or something like that? That would be lovely. But I'm not recalling having seen anything like that. Okay, you already knew how to use that software. Yeah, that is a great head start. Man, I wish I've started working with Blender or a different software at age 11. That one is also nice. Is that... oh, that is actually track, that's not a walkway. Lovely, but I guess a bit of the wrong theme. Oh, that's a ramp. Oh, that is also an awesome track piece, but... where to put that down? Maybe we start with a double line here. You spend all your free time with 3D modeling. Well, that's a good thing to do. Oh, the gates close when the train comes along. That's cute. Okay, that's a problem. Maybe let's just have a buffer stop there. Okay, but that works. But it's off-center. Why is it off-center? Now it's aligned. Good. No, there is no space for that here. But there is space for a little bit of a coal depot. Sure. Unfortunately, there won't be a game using my models. Also, the thing is, I create my models for 3D printing, so they are very, very dense in terms of details, you know, in terms of the mesh. So using them for games would be either a performance nightmare or you would have to redo them pretty much from scratch. So unless I can find somebody who is willing to put up with that and create that game for me, there is little hope. Is there not a curved turnout? You know, like... Well, it's not really a curved turnout either, is it? How can I create... You know what I want to do. I want to have another line coming from here, but I don't think there really is an easy way to do that. We should use this one then. Oh! No! Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear, where's the other train? Emergency stop. Okay. Good. Jesus. So much excitement. And all near crashes. Oh, we still have here a line that goes to nowhere. Totally forgot about that. I just pretend that I wanted to place that thing there. Good. And we can remove this and place that. Yeah, it looks a bit lumpy, but it's fine. And then we can place... Should we go for the diesel locomotive? Maybe here. With a bit of a works train, but just have it static there. Maybe a crane is good for a works train. Yeah. I think that's fine. Love that. Of course we have no platform anymore, which is less than ideal if you ask me. But that doesn't really... How do you create a train station with a platform? I mean, we could use a train station with a platform. Maybe that's what the game wants us to do. Also, that doesn't line up. Why does it not line up? Another one would be too much. You know, I want to connect the small station piece to here, but that's not really possible, unfortunately. Fine, then let's do it just like that. I made a Class 81 model some years ago. You know, it's in a way you can just directly derive it from the Class 80. But I haven't updated in a while, and it doesn't make sense to update my Class 81 until I have 3D printed and with it finalized my Class 80 model, as it would just be twice as much work. But I will do a 81 eventually. And if you look on my Instagram, you will find the model I have. I guess it doesn't look too bad, but it's still far behind what my Class 80 looks right now. I also want to have a road here. Can we do that, or is it just like cars, not existent? You can tell they spend a lot of time adding terrain pieces. There's just so much wonderful and lovely stuff. But I have difficulties with the decorations. But maybe that's just a me problem. Okay, is there anything that could act... And can you put a road on top of that? Not really. That's a shame. We cannot have a mountain road. Somebody requested some animals, so let's just put some sheep down here. On Austrian engines and railways, well, how do I answer that? It is pretty high up on my to-do list. However, for now I will focus my attention to getting those models I already have, or at least some of them, to get them 3D printed. So it will still take some time until I get to Austrian models. It will probably still take about 2 years until I get to that point, but I definitely want to do that. And I've already worked on that narrow gauge electric, of course, which already have shown off in a work in progress state. But at the moment my attention is really at getting to 3D printing. So please be patient. My to-do list is ever growing. It pains me. But I just can't do everything at once. And I also myself always underestimate how long it just takes to create a model. Especially if it's a standard steam locomotive, you would think I already have some standards, so I can just take parts, you know. Yeah, of course, an Austrian 52 would also be among the first Austrian prototypes. Probably one with a cap tender, with a cap tap. Just create everything at once and create an abomination. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. Okay, do we also want to have... Oh, that looks way too boxy. Maybe we do need a bit of shape here first. Yeah, your class 38 is a few months in the making. Yeah, I mean, I've seen your level of detail, so I'm not surprised. I mean, mine P8 is years in the making, but then again, it was my very first large locomotive I did. You can also, if you're interested, go back in my Instagram timeline to see the first version of it, which is, well, not necessarily bad, but it's quite obvious that I was still figuring out things back then. And of course, over the time I've improved a lot on the model, added details, sharpened up details, but there is still some old mesh I have to redo. Especially as the P8 is also one of the first standard gauge locomotives I want to print. So this will probably happen still this year. Towards the end of the year, but still this year. What actually is that mess I've created here? Are there any rocks we can put in the water? I mean, there are waterfalls. Which it's a bit too late to fit them in now. Oh, there is sand. That is maybe something we should add. Can you not? Ah, come on now. Why can I not fill that in with sand? It took you about a year. Yeah, that's just what it is. The SBM Beach episode. And you know, with model making you also don't want to rush it. Of course, the hope I have that once I printed my first standard locomotive, then that other standards will be a bit quicker. That once I have my P8, other Prussian locomotives will be a bit quicker, but at the end of the day, there's no point rushing it if then the result is just meh, you know? Quality is certainly more important. Okay, then there's just a lake in there. It's just what it is. Okay, are there any beach decorations? That's just animals. I have seen something. Oh yeah. Tents? Sure, why not? Just be aware of the tides. What is that? Oh. I see. Small boat. Sure. Bit of table... okay, nope, that one. Okay, sure, table tennis over here. Fine. A wooden train, perfect. And a campfire. Can't place those in water either. There must be some rocks we can place directly in water. Yeah, not sure about that. Ooh, a chess field. I love that. It doesn't fit in here at all, but I don't care. We can place those. Good. Palm trees on the beach. You know, I'm already going off theme, so why not go completely off the theme? It's fine. Totally fine. these fruit trees are cute. That is also a challenge I have yet to face. As even though I want to focus on, you know, rolling stock cars and trucks for my own models, I want to have some buildings and some surroundings. One way to approach this would be to completely just ignore natural stuff like trees and so on, but then again there are of course bolster wagons or logging equipment I want to do, so it would make sense to also create trees for my own models. But how do I do them stylistically? As I don't really would want perfectly realistic trees, as they would just kind of detract from the models. But I guess that's a question I will answer another day. On some of my old Instagram posts I had some very cartoonish trees for the background. Stylistically not too dissimilar to those, but I wasn't really too happy with them. Okay, why is that a rectangle? That's not good. Sure, there for 1 to 50 scale you can find some accessories as it's a common scale for truck models, but I kinda want to do everything myself, so that's the challenge I set myself. Because everything should be stylistically coherent. Yes, exactly. For truck models 1 to 50 scale is the most common scale. Only for truck models I think, but it does exist. Even though I'm not too sure if there are... I mean, for trees it doesn't really matter. You know, O-scale trees should also work fine in 1 to 50 scale. For the most part. But still, that's not what I'm going for. I will create my own ones. That's a cute bridge. Let's maybe just have that as a decorational part. Okay, that is still a bit too boxy. Looks at boxes full of 1 to 50 truck models. The thing is, those pre-modeled rocky nature pieces don't really blend in too well with the custom terrain. Alright, I make it round, I'm trying. No, I don't collect O-scale, it's way too large and way too expensive. But I would imagine that O-scale trees would work fine. I have a bit of G-scale though, which is, you know, how completely different category. But surprisingly cheap if you buy second-hand stuff. Okay, there's still a harsh corner. Is it round enough? Does it look natural for a video game? Ooh, that angle looks actually... We need a forest here. That's what's missing. Actually, that was supposed to be the town. Oh boy. Okay, maybe we need some path. Why is that so ginormous? These tiles are ginormous. You know, This path is very sweet and small and fits with the buildings, but I suppose that's probably more meant for kind of a marketplace than a path, though. It's user error. Yep, that's what I'm looking for. That corner will just stay a corner. Oh, but those don't connect. That hurts my soul. Why can you not connect them? I guess I should just go with either one or the other. Okay, I go with the dirt path down here and the other one up there. Ooh, Inskel from Fleischmann. Oh, that is lovely and something I'm tempted to. Nope, the wrong part. I'm completely distracted. But you know, when we're talking about Fleischmann Inskel, are we talking about Fleischmann nowadays or actually about Fleischmann? I mean, you mentioned locomotive from 2004. That was, of course, of the good old times when Fleischmann was still its own company. I have some HO stuff from them. Actually, quite a lot. Not too much, but... I love how Fleischmann kinda always balanced out their models to not be too detailed, not too finicky, but still very stunning when it comes to the sharpness of the molds. You know, especially the wagons are quite simply how they're assembled. There are not many small extra fitted pieces, but just the tooling is very, very sharp and very crisp with many molded on details with... It's just lovely, those models. Yeah, Rocco is calling. What happened after that, after their insolvencies, is just not the same, you know? It's just not the same. Talking about Dutch models, Fleischmann had quite a few of them, at least relative for a German manufacturer. Which, you know, also makes sense. I will also have eventually a number of Dutch models in my own range, but it will take time. Okay, this looks horrible. Can we put that ground underneath there? Oh, yes, that works. Okay, maybe. Uh-huh. Yeah. I'm figuring things out. Did you hear Dutch models? Yes, you did, but you know that will happen in a future version of myself. As there's only so much one can do at once, and I probably will start with more modern Dutch models. Probably. With more modern, I'm talking about 70s, 80s. As you know, the best way of approaching models from a different country is, you know, cross-border trains. So, thinking in that direction. And of course, when I do British models, there are also some obvious locomotives that one can do also in a Dutch livery. So it will happen, but it won't happen right away. Gosh, I'm promising things again. I sworn to myself I would stop doing that. Because it just creates a backlog of things. We should add more buildings to the town, right? Because 3 buildings in a station is not really a town. Yeah, Class 66 is of course an obvious one for then contemporary railways. Which also will happen one day, but that's unfortunately way off. You know, believe it or not, one day I want to make a Vectron or trucks, locomotives of all generations. It will happen, but not anytime soon. Not anytime soon at all. That build is way too large. Didn't you just say you shouldn't make any promises? Yeah, I know. It just happens. Because the thing is, I'm not just saying these things because I want you to be happy. I'm saying these things because I want to create those models myself. I want to get it out of my system eventually, but yeah. It just takes time. A lot of time. But then again, generally the last 2 years progress on model making has been quite slow, as I've really spent the time on finalizing the models I already have, so the transition into 3D printing isn't that harsh. And I only have to do small things I still have to change. So hopefully once this year's over, I will be able to find a good rhythm of creating new models. But who knows what will actually happen. Because there's no way around it, it just takes time. But these connect into a whole field. So that's good. Why did you place the house on the path? What the heck am I doing? What is happening? God. Because it makes sense that the path is connected to the side of the house. You know? Don't see anything wrong with that. But I see that I have made an absolute mess here. Okay, much better. When is AT036 planned to be running again? There's a mountain on your town. Yeah, there's a lot on my town. Generally, I've strayed away from just giving my locomotives new and random running numbers, because it often also means changing around little details. And then that's a lot of additional time I could also spend creating new models from the ground up. So I will keep it in the back of my mind. It might be nice to do it if it's just for rendered images, you know, not for a printed model. But that I rarely switch out the running numbers is quite on purpose. It's also a bit of, you know, world building. But of course, once I have 3D printed my first model, it's not that big of a deal anymore to... There's a bit of sugar in your coffee. No, the other way around, yes. That's the way how I drink coffee, because I don't like coffee. Okay, what do we still need to do? That mountain still looks like Minecraft. Which in itself isn't a bad thing, but... it's the wrong game for that. So let's change that. That's way too big. Of course, it also won't connect. Nah, that's... What can we do here? Maybe place a wall segment. What are a few benches? Yeah, you always need benches on your travel path. Coffee with sugar is horrible, but coffee with sugar is very good. Yeah, I see, I see. It should be back this year in operation. Okay, I keep a look at it. Why I'm not working for a model rival company? Yeah, it's kind of a backup plan I have. The thing is, I guess with Märklin I might have a chance, because I don't have any official education that would bring me there, you know? I haven't studied design or anything that would remotely link me to that, but I at least still have the hope that some companies look at what people actually can do, rather than just the papers they have. There was actually one model car company where I was thinking about applying for a product management position they had open. At the end of the day I didn't do it, but it was very lovely how they stated what was required, because they didn't state anything, any official papers, but just you need to be interested in cars, you need to be interested in model cars, and you need to be able to work in a team. Which, you know, I was thinking to myself, oh, that could work out. But it ultimately would take time away from this channel. And also a lot of energy, you know, if I would work for a model rival company, I don't know if I would have it in me to create my own models on the side. Because it would be kind of the same thing, just different. Okay, maybe we should put a special feature on this side. You know, something like that, but less in the way. Yeah, but I mean, product design for cars, you know, it's still the same direction. Especially looking at how locomotives these days look like. So that's kind of linked, I would say. And I don't know, working in the model industry, working for a model car manufacturer might be less stressful, to be quite honest. It's supposed to be broken. It's a ruin, after all. Also, the backside doesn't look good. That helps. And leaves an awkward gap. No, I don't like that. The thing is, can you scroll through the different versions? Not really, you just have to place them. Then you get the bigger one. Then you need to delete that again. Ooh, that is a lovely bridge. Where can we put that down? Where is a good place for that bridge? Actually, nowhere. The model car community is way less harsh than the model train community is. Not so sure about that. I mean, it's different. But then again, yeah, I see where you're coming from. The model railway community is kinda... It's a war ground, but in a way it's also the model car community. I once was a little bit deeper in it. Some people can get way too passionate about it. Way too passionate about it. And just completely lose out of sight what's realistic for a manufacturer to do and what's not. Rivet counters. I mean, there is nothing wrong about rivet counting itself. You just have to eventually realize that the number of rivets isn't everything, but yes, it's exactly that. People who think everything would be possible, and even if it's physically possible, is it also economically possible? Because what you find is that those people who complain about the lack of details also complain about the prices, which you can only have one of those. If you want to complain, choose one. Even though model cars have become quite expensive, at least in HO scale. So that is one thing. Okay, that also is lovely. Ooh. Okay, just randomizes it. Okay, this is nonsense what I've made here, but I kinda like the blocks. Where could we put that to use? You paid 50 bucks for the Opel Blitz model. What scale? I mean, at least in HO scale an Opel Blitz doesn't cost as much. Or does it? I actually have no clue. The only Opel Blitz I know is the old Viking model, but, you know, that's... that's more a toy model. I say that lovingly. Alright, if we build that out further, let's have another pier here maybe. 1:43 scale. Yeah, that makes sense price-wise. Tamiya kit for 30, yeah. How did I come up with this name? That's an interesting question. You know, when I had decided that I want to share my first Blender models on Instagram, I of course needed a name. So I sat down trying to think about a name. But nothing came to mind, as it usually does. So I was thinking about what do I want my brand to stand for? What are the associations I want to have? And when I think about a moody evening railway scene, I'm kind of thinking about a harbor bridge, you know, those old rusty metal ones. So a steel bridge. And then it just fell into place because it would make a great logo. You know, having a train traverse a steel bridge. And if that's your logo, then you also can call yourself Steel Bridge Models. That's how it came to be. And that's probably one of the best decisions I made, because I quite like the name. Is there a way we can force it to always put down the same variant? The 52 class from Kobe, which is a huge beast, isn't it? But I'm looking forward to see what Kobe does next in terms of trains. Because the only thing any brick manufacturer does is kind of copying the Lego train pieces, which there's no need for copying them as they are not really that great. And Kobe finally did their own thing in terms of railways. Come on, eat this one. No. Idea for your logo. Well, think about what you... When you think about your models, what you want to convey with them. You know, is there anything specific in terms of prototypes you're going into? You know, maybe you're doing industrial locomotives, maybe you're going more with narrow gauge or mainline, and try to fit something that isn't too obvious. You don't want to call yourselves steam train models, obviously. But something that just sets the right mood. Okay, now you're all giving me walls of texts. Ooh, okay, the Kobe quality apparently isn't good. I never had any Kobe bricks in my own hands, so I have no clue about it. But the only off-brand Lego I ever had also wasn't great in terms of quality, and it wasn't nice to assemble at all. The thing about a train system, I think you can still create a great new train system while still keeping the same gauge, for example. You know, I'm not asking for a manufacturer to completely throw everything out of the window about your traditional Lego trains, but just add it up, create new wheel sets, create new better looking couplings that are still compatible but not a copyright infringement. Anything Kobe after 22 is same as Lego. Yeah, that is what I was more expecting, actually. And Kobe also, as far as I'm aware, produce their stuff themselves in Poland. So they are not just ordering that stuff from China, and as such have a hand over their quality. But then again, I have never had any of their products, so no clue. Oh, they don't use any stickers anymore. Well, that's great. I mean, stickers are the worst part of any Lego set. Then where is the plastic from? Because a good quality plastic is your basis for a good product. If you use trash material, then, well, there isn't much hope. Okay, what am I actually doing with that pier? I have no clue. Is there a small store we can put? Oh yes, that would make sense. The thing is, if I would ever fall back into using or into collecting bricks, then I would go back to classic Lego from the 80s and 90s. Put a railroad on it. Could work. Because there's such a charm in the classic town sets, classic castle sets. You just don't find anything like that from any manufacturer these days. I had a lot of Lego trains, but eventually I just realized that it doesn't matter what I do. With Lego or any other build system, I would never be able to achieve what I want from my trains. Just realized that model trains are maybe the better solution, also not more expensive eventually. Because if you build your own locomotives that consist of hundreds of pieces, good luck getting those pieces at a reasonable price. Well, Blue Bricks is... well, I don't have too much experience with Blue Bricks itself, but their sister company, how's it called? Model Car World. Let's phrase it that way, I don't sympathize with that company at all. And also Blue Bricks, they are not a manufacturer, they're just ordering that stuff from China and sell it over here. That's also, I think, something to keep in mind. And they had over the years also some shady offerings, you know, of copied Lego sets without their instruction, pretty much. The Lego second-hand market is a nightmare sometimes. It depends on what you want. For classic town and classic space and anything train related, yes. The prices are just... especially the train prices. You know, why would I pay $200 for an unpowered Lego locomotive if I can get the same from a model railway manufacturer? But things like classic town are actually quite cheap. If you don't go for seal sets, of course. But, you know, you wouldn't want to rip those open anyway. But when I sold off my Lego collection, because I had quite a bit of it, I had a lot of money I could invest back into my model railways, because for everything pretty much I got at least what I paid myself for it back. Even though obviously I played with that stuff, you know, I bought it new in the shop, built it, played it, enjoyed it, used it, still got my money back, and with some things even a lot more. The bumpy ride. It does ring a bell. I think I've seen that. Maybe I have to check that out. Last year, one guy in Florida bought up the entire world supply of Lego powered up sets. And that... oh... that... I was reading something about a guy in Florida. That's the story behind it. Oh, dearie me. That's just evil. That reminds me on the onion situation, where one company bought up all the onions there were, and onion prices were skyrocketing. Oh boy. Okay, that is just evil. That is just evil. How do we link that up now? I guess we had that problem here before, didn't we? No, no, oh. No, I made it only worse. Okay, how do we stop that now? Is it the middle section? Good. We need to reverse that one, but stop this one. How to clean your models clean of dust? Well, store them in boxes, or at least in a glass cabinet. That's the only hope you have. course, with a layout, that's a whole nother story. I mean, one thing is if you have a separate room for your layout. You know, generally it's not a good thing to have your model railroad in the same room where you also sleep in, because that is just a lost fight against dust collecting. You gave up. Yeah, I see. Okay, how do we link that up? We have a bit of a... yeah. Clean them every few years and that's it. Sounds reasonable. I mean, with what I have planned with my own models is... So far, I've stayed clear of a model railway layout, and also I won't have a model railway layout with my printed models, at least not a permanent one. But I want to develop kind of a modular system, which after I'm done with shooting for videos, I can just put back into boxes, so it never gets too bad. And of course I will keep them in a separate room where there's nobody in there at the daytime, to keep the problem at bay. It would also make more sense space-wise, yes. Yep, Barn Fanatiker, you're right about that. It's just me trying to do everything at once. I should connect it up here. But where? Because that's a siding. Where's the second train, actually? I have a bad feeling. It's over here, okay. Ah, darn it. Okay, that takes care of that problem. It's a nightmare. I don't know what I have created here. It's a abomination of a railway system. So much is for sure. And then that level crossing also won't fit here. Oh dear. Good. Mm-hmm. Check the ocean? Oh, I see what you're getting at. No, my locomotive is still on dry land. Yeah, the problem is music should still be there. The problem is that, you know, as much as I love this signal box design going over the track, we can't put a double line underneath it. And I don't want to get rid of it. The spacing is just so unfortunate. Okay, I get... That wasn't the plan. We make it a double line, but then this doesn't... Oh god. I think that must be like how real track designers or layout developers must feel like, that there's always not enough space. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Okay, let's just link it up, just we don't have any accidents. Getting stressed here. This was meant to be a cozy game. And there's no... I mean, there's this at least. Can we place it on top? Yes, we can, and then maybe place it here. And then we can put the buffer stop over there. Yeah, that works. It doesn't need to make too much sense, you know? It's fine. It's fine. Where the heck is that train coming from? What? Oh, I have it in reverse. Oops, my fault. Where would I place the signal box now? Well, I could place it over here, yes. And we also should maybe put the signal back in. Maybe over here. Yeah. I mean, for the type of game we are playing, you know, for the level of realism the locomotives have, this is fine. I still have no clue what that even is supposed to be, because for the goods junction is also kind of an awkward place. But we just won't question it. Is there a crane, actually? You know, I'm thinking of that, like, kind of a disused siding for goods trains, which is now a tourist attraction, but still an old crane would make sense. There's just a crane wagon. Yeah, I don't think there is any crane related thing. Well, that's fine, but we can place a locomotive. Maybe that one, and then... Yeah, then we still have a crane. Oh, on the 23rd to 25th of May. Thank you for telling me that, because I'm always miss anything that happens in the preservation scene for some reason. Maybe. I can't promise anything, but I will see if I have time there, even though that week already is kind of full. Maybe. I will look at it. Is one of the rail bridges looking like the frame of an overhead crane? There is no road. There will be a road. I mean, that's a bit that is very awkward. It's fine. We could also, by the way, use it as gravel underneath the track. That doesn't really work, actually. That would work, but it doesn't have the right texture. Okay, no gravel. Okay, I completely distracted myself. What was my plan? And why is the buffer stop gone? No, nope. Thank you. Good. Oh, the overhead rail bridge. Right. Right. Thank you for reminding me. Which one are you talking about? That? In rail section. Oh, that thing. Yeah, true. That does look like a crane. But it... I guess that's okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. We are going with that. Even though it pops out some land. Can we maybe put some barrels on top of it? Not really. Fine. Oh, hay bales. Maybe that to the sheep. And streetlights. Is there actually... But there's no day or night time. Okay, I will recognize you because of your equipment. Makes sense. Good night, or have fun playing Forklift Simulator. See you around on Discord on the next stream. Okay, the rain is nice. Why are there no 3 lamps? How has that happened? Have I placed them there? I'm not sure if... I mean, there is this kind of a mine, which is narrow gauge. Okay, I think that one's too big. We have to put in the small one. Oh, I see. Yes, that would actually make sense. Oh, you met Mr. Eisenbahnromantik. That's lovely. I mean, of course, he's always on foot somewhere. The thing is, there's... Because it makes more sense towards the mountain. We could maybe try to... Should we save it? You know, every once in a while might be a good idea. Where the heck is that? Why did the music just leave me? It went quiet all of a sudden. Okay, fine. I'm not going to question it. But where is a darn coal mine? Can I middle click on it? No. It was somewhere here. Oh, there it is. Would there be enough space to put it? So, it gets cramped. Maybe if you remove some of the terrain? We just could change them around. Of course, then the coding station is in the middle of the main line, but it's fine. It's fine. Turn a few points around. Okay, what have we... What madness have we done today? That one still looks very... Yes, the music is the game soundtrack. So it's not anything extra. And I just hope it is original music and I don't get copyright striked. But it should be fine. Which lighthouse? We have two of them. The big one and the smaller one. Which... This is just a square. We can't have that. I mean, now it's a shield. Actually, I like that. It doesn't look natural, but it does look good. What is... Ooh. Is it wine? Probably wine. Which... Let's just plonk it down there. Pumpkins? I would love some pumpkins. Nope. The big one, of course. Yes. Good answer. I wanted to put something on that island. Okay, I kind of thought that would happen. These stalls are very cute. Some more lamps, even though there's no actual night, which is a bit of a shame. I would love to see it at night with all the lanterns actually working. But apparently that's not a thing. When you gonna make face reveal? Well, you know, it's something I have thought about. It would, especially for some of the more talkative videos, it would make things easy if I could just record myself, you know, and then I don't have to fill in every second with animations or rendered images. Maybe one day I will do that. Maybe. Okay, we still have that bridge in the middle of nowhere. I have to get rid of it. It's just... I can't justify it being there. And we also have this chess field. You know, I love my human-sized chess fields. That's just great. Love it. Even though at the same time it's a bit uncanny. Oh, there's a bridge. Good. Yeah, I could... Right, we have now one river. But is there really... Okay, the rain gets a little bit on my nerves now. Is there really a good location for a channel? Put my face on a model of Thomas the Tank Engine. Not sure how I feel about that. You know, as a YouTuber you have to be, if you do a face reveal, how do you want to present yourself? What position do I occupy here? God, I mean, I could do it on the computer, that wouldn't be that difficult, but if I wanted to 3D print that, I would need to scan my face. No, let's not do that. You know, one thing, in a way, I like having not my face known as, in a way, you know, this isn't a Let's Play channel, even though that's literally a Let's Play right now. And the channel isn't supposed to be about me, really, but rather about my models. So me being just the background voice is kind of fitting. But at the same time, I do understand that viewers are interested to see how I look like, you know? I get that, because I feel the same way when I watch faceless channels. You are curious. Well, do people care? I think it's just, if you can't put a face to a voice, your connection is just different. It feels more quote-unquote personal, which is at the end of the day the biggest driver for a YouTube channel. You know, a successful YouTube channel isn't necessarily the one with the best ideas or the best production, but one which people can connect to the best. And of course, if you're out there with your face showing who you are, that's a lot easier than just listening to a voice. Oh, at your school you have a scan device. Yeah, I'm not sure if my face needs to be miniaturized. You know, I'm comfortable with showing my face eventually. I mean, eventually on some kind of a exhibition or convention, my face will be shown anyway, so... But it doesn't need to be miniaturized. You know, I'm not part of this world I'm creating, I'm outside. Use a VTube character. I could use a locomotive, you know, a talking locomotive. And I have actually thought about that, but decided pretty quickly that that wouldn't really fit the vibe of my channel. Yeah, you like the idea of the background voice. Yes, there's also some magic to it, if you don't really know who it is. And that's all the reason I have just so far decided to just put that decision off, you know, at a future time. Because I can always do a face reveal, but once I've done it, I can't take it back. Ooh, that is cute. But it doesn't really fit into here. Oh, dang it. I guess it's just like with real model trains, you never have enough space. Oh, but that's so cute. I need to make space then. Okay, I see. This is in the way. Nope, wrong button. Use Clippy. I kinda realized that many people on YouTube have Clippy as their avatar. No clue when that started to become a thing again. Oh, true, I should put a mountain there. Okay, something needs to go here. Something, maybe some flowers in between. Sure. What to do? Nope, I don't work on a railway in real life and actually have professionally nothing to do with railways. So I'm just a railway artist, you know, standing on the outside. I don't think that's a big mountain that was requested, but it's a mountain. I want to have some sand down here. Where is the sand? I mean, it kind of sounds lovely working on day on a real railway and at night on your own little railway. There's the sand. Could put another waterfall down here. Sure, it doesn't make any sense, but it's fine. It's fine, it doesn't need to make any sense. An animated figure of Thomas. Yeah, copyright. That would become a problem pretty soon. I mean, as a YouTuber you can get away with a lot of things, but as the channel grows, that will lead to issues. But honestly, I think the way to go is just to have a face reveal and, you know, show you the real me talking, rather than a VTuber, which I get the thing why people do that, and has, I guess especially for a Let's Play channel, that works out quite alright. Because honestly, for Let's Plays, a face cam can sometimes break the illusion. It depends on the type of game it is, but I generally prefer it without a face cam. And a VTuber would be kind of a middle ground. Okay, more trees. I guess one thing that's lacking are trees. We need way more of those. Let's just spam them down. And, oh, don't do that. Then it looks less empty, but we still need something here, that is true. We can't leave it as is. Ooh, the arch is nice. You know, you can tell it's my first time playing this game, as I'm just, ooh, this is nice, yes, I want to have that too. Everything, all at once. Like I wouldn't be allowed to play that game ever again after today. Okay, I'm not sure about that. It doesn't look too realistic. Make Thomas green and call him Tony. Ah, I see where you're getting at. Even though I'm not sure if green is necessarily my color. Blue is actually more my color. Even though... If I would make a character for my channel, wouldn't it have to be red actually? Tony the Tank Engine. Yeah, but true, green would make sense because Bavarian and stuff, yeah. Oh boy. Not sure how I feel about that, but it does make sense. Okay, as long as we don't look at it from the side, it's not actually that bad. No, that can't overlap. I wish these things could just overlap. That would make my life so much easier. But when in doubt, trees will fix it. Yeah, but you know, Gemini is Gemini. I don't want to mix myself into there. But I mean, Gemini animated would be kinda cute. That's no doubt about that. No, I mean, that would be a lovely avatar. I mean, in a way, Gemini already has become kind of the mascot. But that's beyond my scope of animating. And it's also quite frankly something I don't want to do. So in that way I'm looking quite forward to have actually 3D printed models, because then I can show you so many things without having to rig it and without having to sweat through the night when my PC renders the animation. I can just use physical models. Well, I mean, that figure will be canon at Thomas at France. There is an orange and copper field railway locomotive on one of those small British heritage railways. I've forgotten which one it was. But there is a red one. So... I mean, there are multiple orange and copper locomotives, of course, in Great Britain, but 140 PS type, which is pretty much a sister to Gemini. Okay, some fruit trees. Some bushes. Can't have enough bushes. Some fallen trees. Wouldn't it be lovely if you had a terrain brush where you can just go over the terrain, it just places automatically like trees and bushes. And you then just change what you don't like. Why does it always delete so much? Don't like that. Oh, a tree stump. Okay. Let's zoom out a bit, which we can't really... that is really annoying, that I can't zoom out more than that. You know, we can zoom in quite a bit, but that way is difficult. You print it and we'll call it Tony. I mean, you can do that. Then a little Tony does exist. I like the idea. Why is there a house out there? Have I placed that? What? How did that happen? You can't stop me. I won't stop you. You can call that locomotive Tony. I'm totally happy with that. Actually looking forward to that. I generally look forward to what you will do with my models. You know, I can only provide you the print files. The printing and painting is something you have to do yourself. Maybe we could also add a small beach here, or just a small sandbank. Yeah, just to give it a bit more life. Maybe even a small island. Yeah, perfect. That looks not good. I don't think it will take very long until somebody puts a Thomas face on one of my models. That will just happen eventually. My favorite West German diesel, well, that will be the V51 or V52. That's no doubt about that. They're just such lovely little machines. And in terms of standard gauge, maybe the V100, which, well, is an obvious choice when I go with the V51. Not so sure about standard gauge. But I especially love the V100 prototypes. Okay, we just curve that off. Does that look fine? I guess it looks fine enough. Okay, that looks horrible over here. The G12 or the G12.1? I love them both. They're just... I mean, they're of course historically also very important, but they are very appealing in their design, generally. And I'm especially fond of the original G12, which was later renamed to G12.1, which still gives you those Prussian locomotive vibes, while the newer G12 is pretty much foreshadowing the standards, but still is very big. I mean, the G12.1 is even longer than the G12s, I think. It's a massive locomotive. But they're both lovely, and I will hopefully have models of them eventually. But it's not on my urgent to-do list. Can we have... Yes. This one I want. OpenTTD, yep, I mean, Transport Tycoon has had... How many percent was it? It was the second most voted for, so I can totally do that in the future. Either the open version, or maybe I track down an old CD, but then again I don't have any CD reader for my PC. You prefer the G12.1 because you prefer longer locomotives. Yes, it looks more elegant. Even though the G12 with its kinda shortened appearance looks very powerful, so I also like that one, but I also would prefer the G12.1. Also because it's such a forgotten locomotive class. Which makes sense because it was never built in huge numbers, but still. It deserves more respect. God, we are already in for 3 hours. You know, not even taking into account the first half of an hour, which was a bit more chaotic. Well, we have to eventually wrap things up. It will also be interesting to see how many people actually have joined the stream, because the way my second screen is set up, I don't have any idea about that. I just see the chat, which, you know, is the most important thing, of course. And I'm looking forward to more streams in the future. What will be posted on my Discord server? I'm scared. Some more trees over here, but I don't want to have the trees everywhere. And then he continues to put trees literally everywhere. My voice gets dry. That is an ugly piece of land here. No, that might be a bit too much. Yeah, the curves are lovely little things. Also something that is on my to-do list, but I can't get my hands on the darn book of the Eisenbahnkurier about them. And I'm not paying 250 bucks for it. I think there's currently one on offer at that price point. I love to hear that you like my voice. I mean, the chill voice is the exactly right mood for this kind of stream. So that's good to hear. Yeah, the DB Museum in Nuremberg is great. Haven't been there in a while, might have to put it somewhere on my to-do list for this year. Okay, why are all of them so massive? Isn't there something small and quaint? Yeah, like that. Sure. Or this one? Nah. What? No. This one. And then a couple more trees. Actually a dense forest for a change. Some fruit trees around the town. Giving me the money to buy 250 pound books. Yeah, well, I would prefer to spend the money I earn from the channel more wisely. You know, like, eventually a second 3D printer would be way more useful than spending 250 bucks on a single book. Especially as I will be able to get it eventually for maybe 120, I don't know. It will be always expensive, but I will be able to get it cheaper. I just have to be patient. The most expensive book so far was for the class 80, 81 and 87 shunters, where I spent, I think, about 80 or 90 bucks. Because it's also one of those where you have to give a limb for. because it's so sought after. You know, I don't mind paying a lot for books if they're brand new, if it's going towards the author, at least a little bit of it, but I hate to pay those prices on the second-hand market. And maybe one day they will reprint it. Well, these books from the Eisenbahn-Kurier, they are very well researched. They have a lot of drawings in them, a lot of rare photographs. They are awesome. And the regular retail price, if you buy them new for 50 or 60 bucks, is absolutely worth it. But once it goes out of print, then it is about a question how many are out there and what is the demand. The older books from the 80s and 90s usually go pretty cheap. You can even get some of them for 20 or 30 bucks, but there are some of those more recent releases which pretty quickly sold out and are now pretty sought after, especially those books which incorporate multiple classes, like the standard shunters or the small curve locomotives or the one about the military diesel locomotives. These are very hefty books with really a lot of useful information inside them, and they just fetch crazy prices. However, if you can find an auction of those books, you will mostly stay below 100 bucks. It's only some resellers, you know, with a buy it now offer, which think they can ask just absolute ludicrous prices. And if you're the only one offering that book right now, there is always a chance that someone actually will pay it. But I'm not the one. But at the same time, I am kind of glad these books get the attention they get, because they are very valuable sources. So, of course, it's no use to anybody who doesn't understand German, unfortunately. But if you can read German, then I can't recommend these books highly enough. But you need to have a certain railway affinity, you know. Because when it comes to the technical description of locomotives, they are lengthy. So if you don't have a rough understanding about how a steam locomotive works, then there's no point in reading that, because you won't understand anything and just fall asleep halfway through. So it really is a book for if you're really deep into it, you know, if you're already hopelessly lost into train technicalities. But in addition to that, those books also have, I mean, the majority about the book is really about the individual locomotives, where they were used, what happened to them, how they were rebuilt, with lots of photographs. For some locomotives, for some classes, even split it up into two books, where you have the first one which just deals about the more technical stuff, and the second one about the actual service time. Yes, it's absolutely for train nerds and engineering nerds. If you just like trains and want to read a little bit about them, then these books are not really for you. But if you want to know the deep stuff, then that's exactly what it's for. And I just appreciate that the authors take the time to put all that knowledge down, because the thing is, the people who actually work with steam locomotives just unfortunately become fewer and fewer, and if that knowledge isn't passed on, ideally by writing it down, it will just get lost eventually. And a lot of knowledge already has been lost. So I'm very thankful for these books. And for everyone who takes their time to write those books, because it's a lot of work and there isn't a lot of money in it. You know, the majority of the $50 these cost really goes into printing. Okay, we need more trees here. Yep, history preservation is very much a golden thing. You know, it's not until you have a good understanding about history that you realize how important it actually is. Maybe another sandbank here. Where are the sandbanks? Maybe where the watery stuff is, that makes sense. Oh, you can put those down. That is lovely. Good, where do we have harsh edges? Unfortunately, there's not really a corner segment for that. You know, that would be the best. We could smooth it out. But oh well. Just have to work with what we have. Yeah, it looks a bit awkward. It's fine. Okay, all in all, I think that doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's obvious that I had no plan whatsoever going in here. But actually, for the 3 hours we spent on that, it doesn't look half bad. The series from the Eisenbahn career, what I especially appreciate as a model creator, that there are also often a lot of photographs from when the locomotives were built, you know, that show the frame clearly or stuff like that, that you usually don't get a good look at. But that is really important if you want to create a model, to understand the structure that goes beneath it. Alright, is there something like a full screen mode? Or anything? What actually is that? Oh, that's just to rotate things. Okay, that's just a screenshot. Oh, we can lock a variant. Huh. Eisenbahnstiftung is also an awesome source for photographs. Everybody should know the Eisenbahnstiftung. Just Google it, you will find the webpage. There are so many, an endless amount of historic photos. It has also been to me a very, very valuable source, especially when trying to decide on a running number. It's always best if you just have a photograph of that exact locomotive. And the problem is when you Google for photos, most of them that you will find are rather post-war. You know, you don't really find that many old ones just by Googling. But on the Eisenbahnstiftung you will find everything. Okay, but I think maybe we should put down a second train. That might be a good idea. But then we have to call it quits before my voice completely gives out. Maybe let's put a diesel train on the track. And let's have it going backwards. Maybe let's break that one down, so we don't have any accidents. I like those one. You know, like clay wagons. With those hoods. I can't place them on the front. That's annoying. Well, then it will push the wagons. Has to do. Now you find AI stuff. Yeah, I know. That is... and a nuisance. On a lot of places. Also, when you listen to music, you hear something that's quite nice from a small artist, and then you head to their bio and find out they use AI for it. Just questioning why. Oh well, it is what it is. Okay, it looks so cursed running backwards. Alright, this is our island. By the way, for those people who joined later on, I have a second channel which is called Steelbridge Gaming. You can find the link in the stream description, also on my channel page, where I will upload the VOD of the stream, and I will upload all the future VODs, as I don't want that to clutter up my main channel. So show the channel some love so we can get it going. As you know, every new channel has its teething troubles. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next stream. That certainly was a cozy experience. And thank you all for joining and chatting. It was lovely to hear what you all think. And to get also your input on what to do. I guess for the next... Why are there so many wagons behind that? How did that happen? For the next stream, I won't continue on this island. Either we will start a new island or try out a different game. Maybe I'd put up another poll for that or just decide something. We'll see. But there certainly will be more of that. So, thank you for joining. Have a great rest of your night or day, wherever you are. Whatever time it is. For me it's quite late. I will probably go to bed not too far after that. Expand this island. We could also do that. Maybe I will put up a poll for that.